And that way you can have sex with him, but just know you are going to be the girl that is in the background. It's STD Friday. So welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It is STD Friday, where we at Pearl Daily have the conversation that nobody wants to have. The conversations about STDs in the current dating market. We've gone over HIV, herpes, chlamydia, syphilis, HPV, and now we're going to go over trich and uroplasma. Why am I covering these? Because in the current dating market, women are sexually liberated and believe that they can have sex like men. The average 25-year-old girl has way more sex than the average 25-year-old guy today. These women are sleeping with a small percentage of guys, and if one of those guys has a disease, it usually means that all of them have it. Men, you have to be safe out here, wear a condom, and stay away from hypersexual and promiscuous women. Usually, if a woman looks like she's the type of girl that has herpes or gonorrhea, you can't really know because all these hoes have it. Sometimes it's the women you think, sometimes it's the women you don't, truly. So I first want to talk about trich. Trich is an infection caused by a parasite called Trichomonas vaginalis. It's transmitted through the vaginal, anal, or oral sex and can be spread via shared sex toys as well. The symptoms for women include itching, burning, redness, unusual vaginal discharge, and discomfort during urination and sex. Symptoms for men include men being asymptomatic or burning in the genital area after urination and after ejaculation. It's estimated that over 2 million people in the United States have trich at a given time. If including the undiagnosed, that number could go up to 3.7 million. 2% of the women in the United States currently have trich, while 0.5% of men do. Treatment plans usually include a single dose of an antibiotic.
Trichomoniasis, these little critters here that we see swimming across the slide when we do a genital swab looking for STIs, they are mobile little creatures. It's literally a protozoan parasite that loves living in the lower genital tract. It likes to live in the vagina or the front hole. It also likes to live in the penis, not so much the rectum though. Trich is super common, but only about 30% of people have symptoms. So even if nothing is going on downstairs, you may still want to get checked out. In a penis, symptoms can be itching, burning while peeing, general discomfort, or even a discharge coming out of the penis. If you have female anatomy and have symptoms, you'll probably have a clear yellow to green discharge, sometimes with an odor, sometimes not. Some people refer to it as a little bit fishy, similar to BV. Also, you may notice irritation and redness of your genitals and pain during sex. If you're suspicious you have it or you want to be screened for it, testing is super easy. You can either get a swab of your genitals or pee in a cup, and treating it is as simple as taking pills. And once you've taken the entire course of medication, the trich goes away completely. It does not live with you forever. It is a temporary infection, not a forever disease.
Yeah, so in my research on these, I don't think I'm not one to pick STDs. Obviously, you want none of them. But you know what I mean? Gun to my head, if I had.
Okay, so if you guys...
Out of the ones we've covered, if I had to get one, I think these are the ones I would pick, to be honest. Now, obviously, you want none. But, if there was a gun to my head, yeah, I think these two I would pick. They don't seem, and I'll get into why.
Okay, so if you guys are following my...
Yeah, maybe you could call it and tell me if you had to have an STD, which one would you get?
story, then you know that I got diagnosed with, what's called trichomonas, trich, people call it. It's an STI, sexual transmitted infection. You can also catch it from moist places like pools, things like that, they say. But I know that I got this. I'm pretty sure that I got this 3 years ago or in 2020 during my relapse. And that's why I've been so fucking sick this whole time. I just felt like something was off. But this is my question. If you guys ever had an infection or something like that, can that make you totally on edge? The last couple of years, I've totally changed. I have no patience. A lot of things, I just don't feel well ever. I thought there was mold in the house, and now come to find out this. So until the infection's cleared up, could it make me act a certain way or whatever?
I don't know. Let me see what they say. I feel like that all the time, but it's been because I've been on methadone. I feel like long-term methadone causes some other health issues and infections. As most of you know, I have been fighting on the front lines of the simp epidemic for years, but I need to tell you about a quiet weapon being ratcheted up against men that is rarely talked about. It's not just the relentless anti-masculinity propaganda and OnlyFans hoes causing the societal issues that we discuss on this show. Did you know that the average city's tap water contains trace pharmaceuticals and endocrine disruptors? This often includes estrogen from birth control. The average adult consumes a credit card worth of plastic every single week. That's 5 grams of plastic a week on average. So it's no wonder that the average male's testosterone is half of what the average was 50 years ago. Testosterone levels decline 1% a year, and without a course correction, we are headed towards extinction. No matter how based you are, you need to be naturally boosting your testosterone. My friends at Chalk, CHOQ.com, are on a mission to save mankind from extinction by boosting your vitality. Chalk's Male Vitality Stack contains premium and potent herbs clinically studied to naturally boost your testosterone levels, sperm count, and overall vitality. Just one of the many ingredients in the Male Vitality Stack was studied in double-blind human clinical trials to boost total testosterone 20% in 90 days. When you boost your testosterone, you'll have more mental clarity, you're more capable of making decisions and taking risks. Having high testosterone will also affect your pheromones, so women will find you more attractive subconsciously. Get the Chalk Male Vitality Stack right now on Chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. Use my name Pearl as your coupon code and you'll get 25% off site-wide on Chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. My name Pearl is the discount code.
Hey, I work in sexual health and I can definitely speak to Trich in public restrooms. So Trich is a protozoan parasite that likes to swim around in warm, moist places. It is passed around through sexual activity, and that is why it's considered an STI. Trich's not going to hurt you in a serious way, but it does make your underbits mighty uncomfortable, especially if you are natally female. For people with penises, it's much less uncomfortable, and often they don't have any symptoms. Although it is true that theoretically Trich can be passed in a non-sexual way, like through wet towels and moist toilet seats, like not dry ones, but moist ones. I work in a sexual health clinic and I sit on the same toilet seat as my patients who are coming in to be treated for things like Trich, like chlamydia, like gonorrhea. And I have never had this infection. Obviously, this is anecdotal. However, that's how not worried I am about this. Every patient I have ever seen and diagnosed with Trich could trace it back to a specific partner. So I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. Go out there, use public restrooms, don't hold your pee in until you get home, because that's way riskier than being on.
Yeah. I don't know who believes that you could get a sexual STD from like a public restroom. That's kind of crazy. Oh, wait.
Infections or supposedly have recurrent yeast. A lot of women that have recurrent yeast and BV infections or supposedly have recurrent yeast and BV infections are misdiagnosed when they actually have Trich. Trich is short for trichomoniasis, and it is an STI and it's parasitic. When I go into the doctors, I don't know if this is like standard. I assume so because it's happened to me with every single doctor, but I am immediately tested with my urine for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and Trich. In this stage of my life with all the problems that I'm getting, I am negative for all 3 of those, including Trich, so that's not my problem. However, if you are having all of the symptoms of like
that, yeah, they don't normally test you for uroplasma or Trich. So if you do get tested, guys, I have heard there are free STD clinics. Personally, I think you just go to Quest. It is expensive, but you know, ladies, for the men, I mean, who cares, right? We're the ones that have to suffer. I know you guys could get some stuff, but like if I was a guy, I'd just get tested once a year and call it a day. But, you know, being a girl, 3 to 6 months in a relationship, outside of a relation, I would just include that in your budget. If you're poorer, I mean, twice a year is probably fine. I mean, it doesn't seem like any of the STDs are going to make you infertile it's usually longer. Maybe if you sleep with someone really sketchy, as we do, you know, maybe then you do it quarterly. Or if you're a really big whore, You're sleeping with like a couple guys at the same time. I'm not here to tell you how to live. Obviously, the women that want to be whores are gonna. If you're a big whore, I would really recommend quarterly. I would. If you're less of a whore, maybe twice a year. If you're fat, I mean, you shouldn't be having sex. You should be on the treadmill. That's where you should be. So, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're fat, why are you even going on dates? You're going to go on dates to eat and drink. I guess, do you know what? If you're going to go on dates as a fat chick, what I would do is I would tell you to go sleep with a guy that's in shape and understand, right? Because you got to have sex. Otherwise, you're going to get kind of weird over time. Like, you're going to be, So, and obviously, you're a woman. If you're listening, you're probably a whore anyways. So you're not a virgin. So if you got to have sex with somebody, this is what I would do strategically. I would go find a guy that's in pretty decent shape and eats well, right? And that way you can have sex with him, but just know you are going to be the girl that is in the background. Like, he's not going to take you out in public, and you just got to be okay with that. But maybe you could ask him for advice, like maybe sleep with a personal trainer or like a biker. You know what I mean? Just a guy that knows how to eat well, maybe a chef. And then you can learn from him for like 6 months while you get ready for your husband. Yeah, that's what I'd recommend. That's what I would tell you, because honestly, if you're fat, like why are you going on dates? I mean, unless you plan on staying fat, okay, well then it's time to just go. I mean, but then you're just going to marry a fat guy, and you guys are just going to be fat together. And then you're going to have these fat kids. You're going to pass on. It's almost selfish for fat people to have children. I really believe this. Like, I mean, honestly, because if you can't stop eating, like, why do you deserve to reproduce? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and I've always felt like when I was younger, I felt like this when I was in my early 20s because I couldn't get myself to stop eating. So I'm not even saying this in a judgmental way, but I always felt like I needed to figure out that problem of mine before I brought anybody else into this bullshit. Because I'm like, yeah, let me get this straight. I'm going to raise a daughter and make her fat too. I'd rather kill or a son. And now they get to have the same really, yeah, as a fat person, I would just focus on losing weight. And just know as a woman, if you're in a situationship, you're probably too fat. And if your friends say that you're not fat, you are. I mean, if your dress size is a 6 or smaller, you might be fat at a 6 with the way they just make the clothes sizes bigger. So a 6 these days is basically a 10. Yeah, so that would be really my recommendation, is to lose weight, go to the gym, get your steps in. I don't think this is the same thing as a eugenics mentality. Because I'm not against dumb people existing. I'm really not. I mean, I think that's like the eugenics mindset. I'm not against dumb people existing. I'm not against, I want all races to reproduce. I'm not into the bloodline stuff, so I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm a eugenicist. I don't think so. But I just think if you're fat, okay, you're basically saying, well, you're communicating to me if you're fat, okay? You're communicating that I am so weak as a person that I just cannot put the donut down. And look, I'm not judging. There was a point where I couldn't put the donut down either. But you're basically saying, and you're saying, let me bring a child up and I'm going to teach them my terrible habits. And then they're going to have the same life I had. Which is going to be having to have sex with ugly people or nobody at all. Or as a woman being the side chick. You're going to be third in the rotation. Yeah, and ladies, if you are in that situationship box with the hot guy, you got to make it very clear that you understand your position if you want to hang out with him more than twice a month. Because really, you can see where you're at in the rotation based on how often the guy sees you. Now, I will tell you, some men just do have the time. Some men, do you know what I mean? Like, some men have the time to juggle like 5 women and they're just on demon mode. And I don't know, so I'm not talking about the exception, like the men that the men that really just, I mean, they just have their only hobby is women. I mean, then you just took an L. He could convince you he's going to marry you and have a second family. I mean, that happens. But let's just take a normal guy with a job. I mean, at most, there's going to be a rotation. So the player guys I know, they tend to want 3 side chicks as like they up to 5. They tend to say that's too much work. But they like 5 just on tap. So there's like the main, and this is the girl. You might go on public dates. He might introduce you to his friends. You might still be a situationship. I don't know. But you're like in the girlfriend slot, whether he calls you that or not. It depends what he's looking for. Then you got girl number 2, right? You got girl number 2. And girl number 2... so girl number 1, I would say 2 to 4 times a week, depending on the guy's level of time and if the other girls are in the picture. Girl number 2 is like once a week, once every 10 days. Girl number 3 is 1 to 2 times a month. So as a fat chick, you're going to be in 1 to 2 times a month, right? But now is your time to gluck gluck. Now is your time. Yeah, I know 3 is fun. Now is your time to get into spot number 2. It's called gluck gluck. It's called being nice. And you have to assure him, because he's going to be worried that if he spends too much time with you, because he knows where you're at in the rotation. You're at the bottom, bitch. You're like 30 pounds away from being hot, and he doesn't see the motivation from you. So you're going to have to like accept that, right? You're going to have to like, and you have to assure him that you're not going to crash out and you don't want anything serious either. Now, maybe you could aim for something serious in a year, but at least this way, you know, you can take dating off the table. You can exit the dating marketplace. And when you want to get laid, you can go to this hot guy, ask him for some nutrition tips, and then just let him know. You just say like, hey, I know where I'm at. I know where I'm at. I'm just happy for your time. You know, maybe you could fall in love in a year. You know, some women do. And if you lose some weight, a lot of women are like 30 pounds away from commitment, truly. But you have to prove you're not crazy, because this is like the calculation men are doing is how crazy is she? Versus what do I get out of this and what do I have to spend? So as a fat chick, you got to make your price real cheap. It's like 1 drink, I'll be there. I'll be there. 1 drink. Okay, let's go to your place. Now, I would say because you're the fat chick, you're going to want to use protection, because he's definitely sleeping with someone hotter than you if he's a good-looking guy. Yeah, that's what they're saying in the chat. Look, I've had in-depth conversations I had a friend in London, and he just always had like 3 to 5 women. That was like his baseline. Like he had 3 and then 2. They're always taking applications. So they'll have the main 3 usually. And the 3rd one usually comes and goes. Like maybe they'll get into a relationship. But the 2, like they're always going on dates and taking applications. And the spots are available. So just as the fat chick, you're going to have to know your slot is at the bottom. You're at the bottom, chick. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. I mean, if you need to if you need sex somehow, you can find maybe an ex or something, but you got to get to the gym. You got to get to the gym, get on the treadmill and eat less. Yeah, so. Does that make you a beta simp if you're here on a Friday and not on a date? Not necessarily. I don't think so. If you don't want to be on a date, like, why not? But if you're fat, I mean, don't watch me. Get on the treadmill and watch me. Do you know what I mean? All right.
The changing of discharge, the odor, the itching, the burning, the painful intercourse, whatever it may be. All of those are pretty, like, they fit into a lot of diagnoses. And if you haven't been tested for Trich, I would definitely recommend to do so. And I know the thought of like a parasitic STI is terrifying because I feel the same, but it's actually like a lot more common than you think it is. And I've read research kind of varying with how many cases there are per year, but I think consistently I've read the most.
Yeah, and it's great. You could just ask him, like, and men love helping you with things. Sorry, I know I should react to this video, but I just have a lot to say about this. And by the way, this was not a strategy that I personally implored. I'm just being honest here. This was not a strategy I did. But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, that would be a good strategy. Do you know what I mean? This one personally, I didn't do. I didn't. But, you know, men love helping you with things. They love it. It's like they're great. Like, if you want a man to fall in love with you, just act really stupid, right? You just got to act like men do not like women that know it all, right? And I know because sometimes I have this, like that. Sometimes that's a problem I've had, I'll say. But, you know, this is what I would do. Even if it's something you already know how to do. Like, let's say you want to learn, give me something in the chat. Let's say you grew up knowing how to fish, right? And you already know how to fish. But if you go up to a guy and pretend you don't know how to fish and just act really dumb and give him all the credit for teaching you how to fish, he'll be in love in 6 months. So if I was fat all over again, I think I would have saved a lot of time. And I'm just being honest here. This was not something I did, but that's something like that would be smart to date a trainer. You give him sex, ask him, hey, could you just help me with this stuff? Can you teach me how to cook a few meals? You know, they got to eat anyway. I was like, I went through all this work of learning this on my own. That's way smarter. Is this how women feel when we expose their game? No, he will think she is too stupid. No, because if you already know about the subject, he's teaching you, he'll think you're a quick learner. He'll think you're learning so fast. You're like, yeah, baby, you're such a good teacher. I mean, you ladies know, you know, you rub the arm and just say, thanks so much for teaching me. You know. Yeah. And I mean, these days men are better cooks than women. Cause look, as a fat chick, you're going to get smashed and passed anyway. So you gotta get rid of the ego and just know your place in this. And by the way, just Google your BMI. No, you're not shaped well. Just Google it. You're fatter than you think. And that's what I really want to say is like, when I look back at pictures, I'm like, I was fatter than I thought. And all the people that like I show that picture to, and they're like, you weren't that fat. And I'm like, that's because you're kind of fat. Can we just be honest here? I was young, so, you know, but I was just thinking, I think that if I implored that strategy, at least the dating you know, I'm not saying I wish I did because I'm okay with my life outcomes at this point in my life. All I'm saying is like, I think that would have been a good strategy. All right. I'm going to go back to it doesn't even have to be a trainer, but just a guy that's like in shape, you know, he knows a little bit about nutrition, maybe a good cook. Yeah.
Just about like 3 to 3.7 million of men and women that have this STI. It's just that it's also not super symptomatic. Like over 70% of people have no symptoms, which makes it really easy to spread. But the number one indicator is a strawberry cervix. And I don't think I'm going to be allowed to put a picture of this, but it will literally just be your cervix and it has like little red dots all over it. which is why it's also so important to get your pap smear, because that's kind of the only way that someone's going to be looking at.
Thank you for the sign up for the membership. You guys are awesome. Men are better cooks. Yeah, like honestly, that would be my recommendation, is to women can in fact sleep their way into relationships. Men, the worst advice betas always give is telling women not to put out. And I know, and like the conservatives, but I'm like, guys, do you not see the things women are getting for having sex? And I'm not trying to apply morality to this, because some of it I do, like on a base level, find a little bit repulsive. But if we just want to talk about what works, like sleeping with the boss definitely works. Have we not covered enough stories to be like, yeah, that works? I mean, if we want to say, like, you don't think a girl would lose weight sleeping with a trainer if she really wanted to.